time to strap in and get ready. The leaders in NRL SuperCoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Mattrix, and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. It is Wednesday evening, about less than 24 hours until Game 1. I'm the SuperCoach Brain, joined as always by the SuperCoach Mattrix and the SuperCoach Whisperer. Here to preview round 15, second major buy, I should say. Fuck, it's creeping up quick, Matty. The second major buy is there. We're pretty much halfway through buy period. We think about this time of year for about, 12 weeks, and it goes at the click of a finger.
Yeah, and now we're here in the middle of Origin. There's been some interesting calls. We've got certain guys to target, but honestly, it feels like this year. I mean, either I've prepared better, or it feels like I've got to this period and doesn't really seem that painful, or as painful as it has been other years. How do you feel about that, Josh?
I'm planning for next year already. We've hit that stage where we're looking at cheapies for 2026. No, it's good. I think numbers this year have been better. I think it's helped the way that the draw's gone and the way that the cheapies have played out this year. For anyone that plays AFL SuperCoach, it's a cheapie disaster this season over there. So it's nice to have a bit of a relief on the NRL front. Most of the cheapies performed quite well and made us good money. So it set us up for a nice little inclusion. I think the flex has played a bit of a part in that as well. So, yeah, definitely changes this year, which have been great. Braino, how are you, mate?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, watching.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah. It's only on Amazon Prime though, which is a bit of a downer. So, I'll have to keep an eye on the scores more than anything. But no, it's good. Good to have cricket and footy on at the same time. That's always a nice time. Something to do at night when the footy isn't on. But yeah, we've got a fair bit to go through tonight. Obviously, with centre wing is probably the main topic of conversation tonight. Who are the replacements? We're going to talk through all of that on Iro, Hopewadi, Tamale, who the best replacements are. We're talking guns, we're talking cheapies, we're talking downgrades. And we're also going to assess the trade trends, what to do with Cleary, Munster, Tino, and all of those guys. We're also going to bring you our buy, hold, and sell as we always do, as well as Captain's Corner. Matty, I'm going to throw over you, mate. Take us through the squeeze of the week, and I will be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, as always, it's brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, which helps you drink responsibly, conveniently, pouring the perfect shot every single time with these products. Their 4-in-1s also help to keep your coffees hot and your drinks cold. These bad boys have the little reservoir that you can squeeze out the little 30 ml shots so that you always know how much you're drinking. You can go to thestandardsqueeze.com and use the code IFS2025 and get 15% off everything in the store. So round 14 has gone and passed, and the winner's Matty. Just like it is at Insight, it is also in our squeeze of the week. Coach of the Isotopes with a 1631. The big dog, he had Keon, he had Katoa, he had Hamoli, he had Herbie, he had Shark, he had Asako, he had Garrick, he had Hughes. Oh my God, it was huge. That's some mad flexing. Also, had the reserve on Jenkins and still did all this with the captain on Cleary, which I believe flopped a little bit. So, look, hop into our DMs on X or Instagram, mate. Claim your prize. And our leader of our lead is Nathan. Unlike he's currently the leader of us. I'll give you that, Braino. Another Nathan, coach of Jet Speed, leading the league. He's dropped to 5th overall, which was a bit of a tough week last week with a 13-17. But yeah, he's still holding strong. And much like Braino is in this, look, everyone's coming for you.
Mate, it's not a brag when I can lead the league at 15,460th out of the three of us. So it's been a tricky year so far. But we're hitting form at the right time of the year. Don't you worry, we'll be right. Congrats to Matty as well. Big 1631. Those are fucking
Thanks,
monstrous
man.
score.
Means a lot.
Wrong Matty. Yeah, Matty and Nathan in the comments. Where's Josh this week? We just needed Josh, and we've got the trifecta.
He's mid.
Trust
Well,
me, you don't want to be Josh.
all right, let's rip into the hot topics for tonight. Josh, we spent a fair bit of time last night in the subscriber Q&A covering centre wing. Now, that's probably where the majority of the questions have come from last night. In what do we do with Iro? What do we do with Lehigh Hopewadi? What are we doing with Tamale? All of these guys, Christian Tuipulotu. I think someone had all four of them. Shout out to them. I think, shout out to Paul Sangster on Twitter. Hop in our DMs, mate. We'll sort you out with a squeeze pack for that. But the question becomes, which one do we go to? Now, if you've got a couple of them, you've got a couple of options. But we spoke a little bit last night, Josh, about Jacob Carraz. 768K. He's got 105 break even this week. He's been named at centre. And over today, we've done a bit of digging and you've looked into the numbers on him at centre versus him on the wing. And it is what we expected. Do you want to go through that and what that looks like, as well as the Origin news from today and whether that has any impact?
Yeah. So firstly on Carraz, obviously can see the appeal. It's a keeper centre wing. He was always that. We were starting with him in round one if he was fit. We bought him when he came back from injury, and we're all looking at him now. As we expect, it is a bit of a drop off at centre. 770K, you're looking at picking him up for when he's last 10 scores at centre have averaged 65.8 compared to 81.4 in the wing. So 16-point drop off, and it's about 11 points underpriced on what he's currently priced at now. I'm pretty happy to let this one go through to the keeper personally. I just think with the big break even in a non-preferred position, with a bye next week, he's a guy that I'm probably just going to target after the Origin period when everything clears up, and a guy to have for the run home. We'll talk on Jermaine Asako with the draw. All things going well, he's probably a guy that we can use as a stepping stone to Carraz. So like that's sort of where I'm lying with my thoughts on Carraz, but would love to know, obviously, your boys' thoughts. Matty, 65 at centre is great, but not when you're paying 770.
Yeah, and look, I'm not scared of the break even because Jacob Carraz goes and plays 4 weeks on the wing and he gets close to touching 800K again. But he does have that, and like I don't think he's a sell, but he does have that high break even. If he was to get injured and has already got injured this week, was called into the squad. Look, I fully expect Brian to play in Origin 2, but we do know he is just one injury away. All these things just add up to more reasons to just wait. The bye next week. Yeah, I just don't see any real reason to bring him in. I like that averaging 65 doesn't scream that I really need an armband on him or anything like that. Every time, and look, this is eye test. Every time I feel like he has these huge scores, it's always been on the wing. So yeah, it's just wait a couple weeks and then get the great man in after that.
I think also people are underestimating how hard next week's going to be to fill a team. And I think, when you look at the amount of players that are out next week and the 3 teams on the bye, it gets a little bit tricky. And then you add in Origin being in Perth. We already know that the Penrith boys, Origin boys, aren't going to back up. That's already been confirmed by Ivan Cleary like 6 weeks ago. And look, the Storm really need to back their guys up after Origin 2 traveling from Perth back home either. If you got Munster and a couple of these other guys, Grant, whoever it be, you could be in some trouble next week if you don't have a full team already. So I think it definitely is something to consider when you're looking at guys like Preston and guys like Carraz, because it could catch you short next week and put you in a fair bit of trouble. So
Carraz's 65.8 is also a bit of a Terrell May average from last year. It was a 25, a 48, a 120, 100, a 45, 73, 36, 115, 47, 49. So really only one score around that average, which was a 73. So it's, three tons and then a lot of under 50. So it's really what Carraz is turning up. And for 770, unless it's like a 150 ceiling, I'm probably not overly keen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's move on to number 2 on the list. It's Jermaine Asako, very, very well owned. Sits in a category in buy, hold, sell that you can probably understand would be in the buy column for one of us. So I might save him for a little bit later, but I think it's pretty clear that we're very keen. And we've got to stop the show here to shout out
do.
Nick here, who's just given us a $20 donation. Appreciate you, mate. Potty makes my week. Thoughts on trading out Iro, Tamale, and Coates to Teddy, Asako, and Hughes or DCE? Iro and Tamale, it makes sense. Coates probably gets a rest, doesn't he, after Origin, you'd naturally think. So it's maybe 3 guys that aren't going to play next week. Teddy, Asako, and DCE probably would be my vote.
Yeah. Firstly, appreciate the $20. If you don't want to be like Nick and you want to get this kind of custom answers for half the price, it's $10 a month to join the Patreon, link in the description. Look, my concern with Coates, like Bellamy was pretty open about how Coates picked up a hammy. I believe it was last year after Origin, so he was quite spooked. Rested them round 1. Obviously now coming back from Perth, I think would rest them game 2. You've got old Grant Fanderson, you've got Wishart, you've got, I'm not too sure on the status of Will Warbrick, but there's plenty of depth in those outside backs. Jack Howarth is back now as well. So, yeah, they've got pretty much a lot of bodies to fill there. So trading out those 3 guys, Iro looks like he's done for the season. Tamale, just look at a knee. Look, I'm no expert. I wouldn't imagine it's a 2-week turnaround, so he's gone. And Coates, yeah, 720k Coates is, I believe, off the top of my head. So it's quite pricey for old Xavier. He's a Rocks or Diamonds guy. It looks like you got on him for the Diamonds, and yeah, cashing out. Teddy, obviously season keeper. Asako, yeah, we'll talk on him more in depth, not only for yourself, Nick, but also for the rest of the listeners. And Hughes at ECA, boys, that's the interesting one. Jerome Hughes, I feel like everyone was selling him 2 weeks ago, and now he's had 1 good score, and everyone's back on the wagon. I'm probably more on the DCE camp because I feel like if over the next 5 weeks, a couple of good scores could see him rise back to where he started with, which is similar to what Hughes is.
Matty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as an owner of Hughes, and I think you said all the other players right, bringing in Teddy is a slam dunk. But as an owner of Hughes, it's been a bit of a tough watch. I would lean towards maybe, and you're going to save some bank too, I believe, with Daly. How much is Daly? Yeah, so you're going to save about 150k. It's about what you do with that other 150k, and if you've got the numbers for the following week, next week, round 16. But yeah, if you don't need the numbers for round 16, just get DCE and spend the 150k elsewhere. Maybe it's the difference between, a Hamish Stewart or a Genuine Gun, or, or upgrading Sandon Smith to Harry Grant in a week or 2. Like, I think to just get in Daly Cherry Evans with those other 2 is safe at the moment with the way that how up and down Jerome Hughes has been.
And Hughes on the buy this week makes it a bit trickier anyway, so you're buying a guy on a buy. Never a huge fan of doing that if you're looking at Hughes. So yeah, I think it's DCE. Thanks again, Nick. We appreciate you. Let's talk Maween Harodi because we'll talk about Asako later. There's a fair bit to talk about with him. 391k, 33 break even for Harodi, obviously replacing Iro at left centre. And Josh, you rattled off the scores last night from the left centre at the Sharks. Doesn't matter who it's been. And I won't expect you. Sorry, I put you on the spot. You probably don't.
Yeah, I don't have them prep, but they're pretty good. In summary, they're very good.
They are good. They are good. And I guess it's like a cut priced Iro, really, in a good spot on a. Can we call them a good team after last week? I'm still not sure. But 391k is the ultimate downgrade if you need to free cash up.
I think friend of the show, SC Guns, put the stats up on Twitter, so I'll try and find them. But yeah, here we go. Sharks left center's averaging 82.6, with Iro averaging 85 and Harodi averaging 77. So look, that is with tries being scored every single game. So it's like, do you back that to happen? Then I mean, the stats say that probably yes, but it's never fun to bet on a try every game. But yeah, 82.6 for centers at the Sharks left center.
Can you argue against it, Matty? I mean, look, we're talking about comparing guys like Karaz, Asako, Marju, Nwanganitawaze, Gagai, Mulatalo, Tupou, Brimson. Like, there's a couple of pods in this list, but can you really get Harodi over any of these top tier guys, or do you just have to pay the money up?
Yeah, because sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. And yeah, you set me up for that too. But realistically, I didn't get on Harodi first time around. And now it looks like Iro's done for the season, and Harodi's been great. Was it Katoa we haven't seen for I don't know how long. Let's just get him while it looks like the pathway's clear. And if he's 600K later on, after Origin, round 22, when you start to attack the matchups, if you've got some trades left, I would not be surprised when it comes to Hiroti.
Ange makes a good point in the chat. Hiroti matching up against Sloane's Edge this week, so don't hate that. But yeah, honestly, I'd be keen on Hiroti if I didn't have the money to replace a Lee High if I was making two really big upgrades elsewhere and I needed a downgrade to make that happen. Hiroti's the guy over Lawson potentially for me.
It's really funny. Like, we sat here back in round 6 and Hiroti was 288 and we were like, nah, bum, trap, 2 trade waste. He's 100K more, and now we're like, oh, borderline season keeper. And as Lockie Camilleri in the chat said, the base has actually been quite good. Basing or BPing around 47, which is really, really good. So love that
Elite.
for him.
Ironically,
and
the
that
people
that includes a game of 38 minutes as well. Like,
it's pretty solid. Sorry, I'll cut you off. Ironically, the people that went and bought Hiroti back then for the cash grab for the 4 weeks or whatever have likely traded him out now and are going to have to get him back. So I don't know who wins in that scenario. You're making 3 trades on Moeen Hiroti. Probably wasn't on my bingo card for 2025. Greg Marju is the next on the list. He's 630K, 82 break even this week. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue against how good he looked last week, first game back. You can do much worse. I think we were talking about Marju a few weeks ago before he got injured as a season hold, right? And there was no reason to trade him out. He was starting to look good. His BP's always been elite. He's basing 32 this year, looking like around a 60 to 62 BP, which is like top tier at center wing. That's probably good enough for top 3. Any reason not to get him? We talked about the curse of the Knights, Matty, last night, about just having too many Knights in Sharp, Lucas, Marju, potentially Gagai's on the list. All of these Knights are popping up because they're all got options, but is there a case of too many Knights throw you off Marju?
So for starters, I own Marju. I boosted him in last week. He has been elite. Just watching him play when he has the ball, it doesn't matter if the Knights are doing nothing. When Greg Marju gets the ball, things happen. Breaks tackles, runs, fends guys off. There is really no reason I can throw it out there to not get Marju. He's done it with a variety of different halves partners. He's done it and scored well when they're getting pumped, when they're winning. Marju's just unreal, and injury, touch wood, aside, I will own Marju right till the end. So I started with him, sold him when he got injured, and then brought him back in the second he went back in with the number 22 jumper. That's how confident I am in Greg Marju.
Love it. Anything to add on Marju, Josh?
No, he's like 17th for base power across the entire competition, in the same category as guys like Cam McInnes, Kai Pearce-Paul, Eli Katoa, Lindsay Smith. So it shows you the company he's sort of keeping with the try-scoring upside. We just need the ball to go left a little bit. The only concern would be, how many Knights assets do you own? That's probably the cutoff. They do have the buy-in, I believe, 18. So just worth considering your numbers there. It's all well and good to buy him now, but if you've got 4 or 5 Knights plus all the other ones, I think there's a couple of relevant teams, the Warriors, the Titans, I think, of guys of relevance. So just check your numbers for 18, but yeah, no reason not to buy him.
Yep, for sure. Next man on the list, Mark Nwanganitawaze, 680K, 112 break even. So, we're talking Karaz type break even here. Obviously named at centre this week with Dom Young on the wing for this week due to Robert Toya being out in Origin camp. So is it a case of letting this one through to the keeper, at the price point, at the break even, at centre? There's a lot of things going against him this week, but honestly, I'd argue that he could be pushing as a top 6 centre wing by season's end with the type of scores that he's putting up. And he's an incredibly good pod. I think they're about 4% owned in the top 10% of teams. Not really many people jumping on him this week either. So a really good point of difference per se. His scores at centre are still very respectable as well. 57, 86, 46, 71, 72, and 71. So, his base doesn't necessarily suffer. It's more the evade, the power stats that he's not getting at centre, making a lot more tackles, getting less runs, but the create is up at centre as opposed to the wing. So there's a case for, there's a case against. Josh, where do you lean on this one? Do you just feel like maybe, regardless of how good the Roosters' schedule is, maybe this one's just not the hill to die on?
I'm quite neutral actually. Like I'm not. I can see the reason why you wouldn't. I can't sit here and say that I'm fading Karaz and then sit here and say that I'm all aboard Mark Nongletwaze. He is 680k, so he's what 90k cheaper than Karaz. And if they're both on the wing, I probably back Karaz in just to edge that. But both at center, yeah. I mean, if you're pretty keen on Karaz, then there's no reason you shouldn't be keen on Nongletwaze. You've got obviously the Knights this week, but then you've got the Cowboys. They've got a standalone bye in 17, which is really good. And the Tigers, Dragons following after that. And we've seen the scores of him on the wing, 91, 97, and 69. So, yeah, that side's humming. I would like to see how they look with Sam Walker back in the side, whether the ball is not so dominant on that side of the pitch. But I think they've been having pretty good success with it. So why would they go away from it?
So Daniel Tupou, you reckon?
Potentially. We discussed him last night. I did look at him for my NRL fantasy team because that's where I like to do weird things. But yeah, Toop's also big watch.
Just there, mate? Is that the only place you do weird things?
That I'm comfortable saying on a live platform,
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Just checking.
I think Tupou is a really, really left field pod, but I just feel like there's so many better options than Tupou that it just doesn't make sense. It feels like a pod for the sake of a pod with Daniel Tupou. But yeah, like I do love Marky Mark.
I think people need to realize, like, if their pod comes out and scores 65, cool. If the mainstream crowd also scores 65, you put yourself through a whole lot of risk for literal no gain. So if you're going really pod, your pod needs to outperform in the room. So
yeah. It's like going a pod, but then you've also got to anti-pod the right person too to make sure that it actually works. So yeah, a bit tricky. Probably not the one that I'd be going with, but I do like Nwanganitawaze with the schedule as well. Dane Gagai, another factor of too many nights. The man sits at 2% owned and has done for the last 6 weeks and continues to just smash out massive numbers in BP. Yeah, honestly, like I feel like he started the year quite cold and no one looked at him, and then he's just started to come good, and he hasn't lit the world on fire, but he's been putting up some really nice scores over the last 6 to 7 weeks. He's been in the Podwatch article every single week, and I hope some of the subscribers have jumped on. But, I mean, you look at his luck since round 8, he's gone 64, 71, 68, 68, 72, 80, 84. And he's picked up the goal kicking now, even when Pong is playing, which is interesting considering we know now that Pong is managing that injury. So, yeah, very interesting. I don't mind the Gagai shout. He's cheaper than Nwanganitawaze with a better break even, but I already have too many nights, so it's not where I'm going. And Yellow Duck, thanks for the donation, mate. Appreciate you. Also a subscriber of Patreon as well, so he's double dipped there.
He wants to know who his last buy should be: Karaz, Mazu, Gagai, or Sarko, and why is it Gagai?
Well, I love it. I love it.
Because Karaz, Greg Marju, and those two guys don't goal kick. So just get Gags. I mean, yeah, as long as you don't have too many nights. I love bringing in Gagai, even at, even though you could have got him 100k a few weeks ago, you can rectify that mistake. Just get him in.
So we all see Karaz as a season-long keeper. We all see Marzu as a season-long keeper. We see Asako as probably more the 3-week punt and then reassess in a month's time. Where do we see Gagai? Because I think he's right between.
I agree. In the middle of the pack in every scenario. The problem is, how many tries is he going to score? I know it's not overly important and he hasn't needed them up until now. He scored, one try all year in round 2 when he got 73, and then the rest of it's all been in BP for the most part. I understand why he's 2%, because everybody wants to chase that massive upside and chase the player on a good team, right? That's probably where we're at this time of the year, right, Matty? Like you're probably looking at these teams that are going to go and compete deep into round 27, and you want teams that are going to have attacking threats. I just don't know whether the Knights have that. Marju is a bit of a different case because it's such a dominant left side, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd rather go with a couple of these other guys personally.
Yeah, you're probably right. I could get talked into Marju. He's my favourite. But look, if you're high on Gagai, just go with your gut. Like, it sounds like you're keen on Gagai for a variety of reasons. If you feel like it's Gagai, I don't think any of those four are a bad pick. So go with your gut. You can't blame, you can't blame anyone else then. You're feeling it's Gagai. He's got the goal kicking. If that gives you the bump to get him over the line for your team, just do it, Yellow Duck.
You both are missing a pretty key aspect here. That Gagai playing for a contract. So we need to probably tick on 15 points for his average there too.
Absolutely.
That's fair. That is fair. Contract year. Never fails, does it? We love a narrative, so I can run with that. Ronaldo Mulatalo, Josh, this one's yours, mate. 585K, 74 break even. Do you still own?
Yeah. Not sure why we're talking about it.
Would you advocate for him?
I can always advocate for Ronaldo Mulatalo. I bought him for 585. I've gone through a 20. I've gone through 100. I've gone through a suspension. I think I've broke even. I don't think I lost any money on him. So it's a worthwhile investment. Look, 74 break even up against the Sharks. Sorry, up against the Dragons playing for the Sharks. Back from suspension. Going to have Supercoach icon Maureen Hiroti on his inside. Yeah, look, if you can't afford those top tiers, I think he's probably the next best. Like, it's going to go like Peraz and then like Nwanga Tuaze and Marzu in that bracket, and then probably like Mulatalo. For 50k more, you can get a Sarko, but yeah, I mean, I always like Ronnie. He has shown that he can go big this year without scoring tries. I think in the opening rounds when he had 28, 77, 109, 44, 46, 53, he scored one try. So like we just need the ball to go to him. He's a perennial 60 plus average guy in years gone by. Just need the ball to find that way, and we're wheels up.
Yep, I think. Yeah, we'll give our rankings soon, and we'll come back to that. AJ Brimson's the last one on the list. Obviously, he's named at fullback. That's what we wanted to see. But do we trust the Titans? The answer for me is no. But it's Brimson. It's Brimo. It's, what do you call him? The Prince of Palmy. Like, how can you look past AJ Brimson playing at fullback? Do you trust Des Hasler, Matty, to keep him there long term?
I just don't trust him to do anything good. I haven't been that high on what I've seen with him this year. I think they've looked best whenever JC gets the ball the absolute most. I haven't seen them linking together. Yeah, I'm just not that high on AJ this year, and I would need to see him string together a few more scores. And unfortunately, he's not bad enough to be 400k, but he's not good enough to be on my radar. And that's probably just the long and short of it. And unfortunately, I've watched some Titans game, fortunately last week. But like, to get steamrolled by a team that's coming off 6 losses in a row, like, that was pretty poor, to be honest.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful. I don't think you can trust the Titans, personally. I just don't know whether there's enough upside there in Brimson, even in the games that he has played at fullback. When he gets a try or two, he scores 80, 90 max. Like, I just feel like I'd want more than that at the price. And I think that on this list, if we go through and we rank this list, I mean, we're talking rest of season, I guess is fair to say. No one's going to want like little short plays, even though one of them probably is a 3-week play we'll talk about later. Jacob Carraz sits at the top of this list pretty comfortably. Do you guys agree?
Ooh, yeah, actually, yeah. It's like him or like Marzu, but yeah, probably Carraz. Just you take the 2-week dip, 1 week at centre to 1 week out, and then you have clear sailing for the run home. Yeah, look, Brimo 54 and 59 at fullback, so it's nothing to write home about. For 100k more, you're getting like, and you're also not picking Brimson at centre. Like, you're picking him to play at 5'8". Surely we're not picking him at centre. So it's him or JC, and JC's 100k more. I just find the funds.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So we say Carraz number 1, Marju number 2. I'm still probably keen on Asako number 3, even if you do feel like you have to probably keep him for the rest of the year. He does have a couple of buys left in 18 and 21 or 18 and 22. I can't remember, but not ideal to have 2 buys in 4 weeks there. But I think that the Finns are starting to look good. We'll talk about him soon later. But Mark Nwanga Nituaze is probably in that conversation in that top 4 list as well. Do you guys agree we're looking at Carraz, Marju number 2, Asako 3, Nwanga Nituaze 4?
Oh, yeah, but I do like Hiroti at the price. Like,
Yeah,
I do think it's so much easier to bring Hiroti in, which moves him so much higher up my list. Just because, like, you can, I don't know, I'm looking at someone like Fletcher Hunt, who's been ordinary to Hiroti, and Hiroti not being an AE nightmare if he drops out, and probably a play most weeks. If the Sharks can, I mean, last week was bad, but if the Sharks continue to be the regular season Sharks we know every year, and they keep averaging 70 odd, then like Hiroti at 390k is unreal value, and I think that he is the easiest to bring in this list for me.
Yeah, I think like you're not expecting 82.6 for Hiroti. But if you think you're going to if you think you're going to get 65, I'd argue he's number one in this list based purely off the fact he's 390. Because what do you think Karaz is going to average? Like 75, 80? Yeah. And he's 300k more, 400k more. So it depends on like what you value lies. If we're looking at like pure points, Karaz won, but it really depends on your assessment of Hiroti, and only you can make that decision. So for me, it'd be Karaz at 1. Long term, like season hold, Mazu 2, Asako 3, but I would put Asako at 2 over the short term, and then probably like Gagai, then Nwangu Tuaze, or you can swap those two, like either or. Like I'm not too fussed on those. So I think it's a pretty clear consensus 1 for Karaz across all of us.
Except we've all said to wait, so take that on board too. But yeah, rest of season, he's a guy you're going to need. Whether it's this week or whether it's round 17, you're going to need Karaz. So you can expect him to be in the buy, hold, and sell in round 17. Hopefully, if he can make it through the next couple of weeks. All right, let's move into buy, hold, and sell. Brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. We've had another rate cut, which is great news for all of the homeowners out there, or people looking to get into the market. So if you're a current homeowner and your rates are above 5.65%, you want to buy your first home, maybe you want to renovate where you're at the moment, or even just save some money, then Ryan will look after all of it for you, does all the work for you, 40 lenders on panel, including all of the major banks, gets you the best rate and the best deal to get into your home, whether it's a new one or whether you want to renovate your existing home with some extra cash in your pocket. No obligation, doesn't cost you a thing. Ryan does it all, and he gets paid by the banks as well. So thankfully, not out of your pocket. You can book your free consult via the link in the description below. Just let him know that we sent you. Now, let's move into the trade targets for round 15.
Targets acquired.
You want to kick us off, Matty?
Yeah, this is kind of my own hot topic in the buy segment, and I feel like Hamoli is a slam dunk with his current break even, 644k, 5-round average of 73, and he is 73% owned in the top 5%. But I do think Jacob Preston being back this week with a similar draw should probably rival it. And I'm actually a bit more high on Jacob Preston than I am Hamoli. He walks back into the team that's still coming first. He's got a 5-round average of 86.8. He's only 4% owned in the top 5%. And if you're looking for points of difference and you're looking at, maybe the 60, 70k difference between Jacob Preston and Hamoli, I think this week you could just bring in Jacob Preston, and of course he's got the bye next week. So make sure your numbers are fine for both these guys. But I do think if you're looking at Hamoli, you should at least have a good hard look at Jacob Preston, because his halves partner has changed in there. But, mate, there's nothing that indicates that Jacob Preston is going to slow down from those scores that they were at the start of the year. He's not coming back from injury. He's coming back from suspension. So, he should be fresh. He had that little, a couple training sessions with the Blues. He should be revitalized and, hopefully for Dogs fans, pushing the Dogs towards a premiership. So, Jacob Preston there. I think that he should be looked at. And if the comparison is Hamoli, definitely bring in Jacob Preston, I think.
Fair. Yeah. Next week, obviously, consideration. But, love that. Love both. Josh, now, I see your one here. And usually Queensland pick and stick. So I'm unsure why you're picking the Queensland captain.
Yeah, double up on points. Get the Origin points, and then obviously double into the Supercoach points. But no, mine is Daly Cherry Evans. Dropped from Origin, which is huge. We think back to last year, a mainstay of Origin in James Tedesco was dropped and went on to finish the season averaging 109 or something like that across, a 15-week sample. So I don't expect that from Ches, but I think a lot of people are concerned with the availability of one and Cleary over the next sort of 5 weeks. And I think if you can free up some funds, you're getting yourself about 200K or even 300K going from Cleary down to Ches. And we know that Manly perform best with Turbo in the side. We know that Cleary really likes having him there. That the left also works, but also the right with Garrick and Hamole. I understand he has a bye next week, but we talk about short-term plays. I don't really know if it can get a lot better. Titans this week, bye next week, which is not ideal, but if your numbers for 16 are okay, then I think it's the play. Tigers the week after that at 4 Pines, South the week after that at 4 Pines, into the bye when you can sell back for Cleary. I just had dinner, so I'm still digesting. But like we look at sort of teams with their points conceded, like the Tigers concede a lot to sort of the spine overall. The Titans are just, number ones across the park as well. Like I understand that they may be ranked, 12th for halfbacks, but I'd like to just look at them against teams when they only really have one playmaker. Not to say that Luke Brooks is not like an option, but they're ranked 4th against 5/8. Like I'm just confident to back, if they're giving up points to fullback, centre wings, and 2 RFs, and we know the way Manly play with their halves, so you can look past those. And a team like South, where South are the worst against hookers, the worst against front row forwards, the worst against 5/8s, the worst against fullbacks. We know that if that's the case, then Manly are going to get a roll on, and there's no better halfback with a bit of momentum than Cherry Evans. So I think for the price, really, really keen to take a gamble on him. And look, if Queensland lose in game 2, the series is over. I don't see Cherry Evans coming back in. And if Queensland when Queensland win game 2, they're just not going to drop Dearden and Munster either. So I think, Cherry Evans' Origin career is done, and that gives us motive to pick him for Supercoach.
Yeah, we've talked about Manly's draw through this period when we talked about Turbo. How good was that? And when we talked about Lehigh, oh, fuck, how good was that? So we've done pretty well on those two.
Good for those who faded.
Yes.
We're saying that Cherry Evans is not playing 80 this week.
Let's just hope we haven't put the mocker on him. My buy is Jermaine Asako, probably the reason why we didn't touch on him a little bit earlier, but there's some interesting stats this week, specifically against the opponent that intrigue me. Obviously not a 1-week play, but more of a 3-week play for Jermaine Asako. The next 3 games are Cowboys, who have conceded 7 tries to right wingers, Newcastle, who have conceded 7 tries to right wingers, and Souths, who have conceded 7 tries to right wingers. So I feel like there's try scoring upside in every single one of these next 3 matches. He then does come into the bye and then 2 buys in 4 weeks. So not an ideal period there. So the reason why we're saying a 3-week play is probably just to get off to potentially a Carraz, depending on how you play that timing-wise and what his BE looks like after he plays this week. So Jermaine Asako, short little 3-week play. The last 2 times that he has played at Queensland Country Bank Stadium against the Cowboys, he has scored 151 with a hat-trick and 118 with a hat-trick. So if, we know that things happen in threes, boys. It's got to happen. Are we going to go with 3 hat-tricks in 3 weeks at QCB?
Oh, that's too big of a mouthful for me. But look, it's already come in 3s with a couple of triples. Yeah, look, I mean, they're not missing as many guys as the Cowboys are, so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had an absolute field day against the Cowboys this week. So
if back-to-back hat tricks wasn't enough for you, round 26, 23, the last time the Dolphins played the Cowboys before that, he scored 2. So in his last 4 games against the Cowboys, he has scored 8 tries.
Okay, there you go. Not bad.
We
could be talking about him in Captain's Corner a little bit later, maybe then, if that's the case. Very interesting. But
also, vibes are high.
Vibes are very high.
Sensational.
Very high. Yeah.
Vibes are very high at the Lamia RSL round 1. And can confirm.
Yes. The Bistro heard all about Jermaine Asako's first try. And also, Josh called him oily, sweaty man last night. to intro talking about Jermaine
he's
Osako?
a very sweaty man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I see
oily's a choice. Oily's a choice.
It just glistens off his skin. You know, it just makes him look. Maybe it's he's that slippery.
Yes, people can't get hold of him. Let's move on to the holds.
That's one of your worst.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you go first.
Nearly
Josh.
set you for, that nearly set you for 10 in the bin, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, thanks.
Mine is Zachariah or Zachary. I haven't worked out which one I want to go with. Hosking. Just think warm body, especially in these mini buys. Like I'm keen to jump off in 19. Absolutely. Matty Nicholson's back sometime soon around then. And obviously the buy in 19, but I've got no reason to sell anytime soon. Like he's a warm body that can get us through the next couple of weeks. Surely we've got more pressing issues to be selling an 80-minute edge/middle for now.
I had this conversation with, sorry, I can't remember who it was in the Patreon, but someone was saying, what's the reason that you're selling Horsburgh instead of Hosking? And I think my answer was, if I get stuck and want to make other trades next week, I would rather have Hosking until 19 than Horsburgh. And that's paid dividends this week with, the news that's come out about Tino and his, sternum injury or whatever it is. And, there's now a risk that he might not back up. So look, that's a conversation we'll have a little bit later, but it creates options now having Hosking, and I'll probably be holding him as well this week.
But also like Hosking, and we've always said this, we said it with like Shibasaki and old Jack G. Like minutes on the park equal more time to get attack. Horsburgh's playing 45 minutes a game. Like, yeah, he's got a better PPM, but I just want a guy that's playing 80. And I think Hosking is that.
Yeah. Always take the minutes over the impact, I guess.
In saying that, guys, I'm trading out Hosking this week. Really, really good points you're making. Thanks, guys.
My hold this week, and I want to preface this by saying it's a 1 week hold. It's not a long-term hold, but I just feel like trading Sandon Smith without knowing exactly what this new role is going to look like is a little bit premature. Not only do we have a ton of injuries across the board with all of these center wings going down, I'm guaranteeing that we have at least one of them in most of our teams, if not two. We're also targeting other players with upside. I just feel like trading Sandon Smith at hooker for another hooker, whilst it might be the great KD, Kurt Donahue, I still don't know whether I can advocate selling Sandon Smith unknown on what the next period looks like for him. There's rumor that he might be coming on and playing more than 40 minutes at hooker. There's also a chance that Sam Walker only plays half a game and he comes on and plays the second half. We don't know what this looks like yet. And I just feel like Sandon Smith, if he comes on the field, he's probably going to goal kick over Savala, we'd naturally assume, unless Walker's good to go for kicking. So I think, what's his break even this week?
It's 39.
Like I don't think Sandon Smith's playing 10 minutes this week. I think
he's
play
got 40 in him.
Yeah, I think he might play more hooker than what people think. Look back to round 12, there was pretty much a 40-40 split between Docker Clay and Benessa Luelu. I think it was like 45 and 35 or something like that. Yeah. And you would kick yourself. Like you would absolutely kick yourself if he came on, got a try assist, got 65, and he ended up in your best 13. Like if he has a break even of like 90, yeah, look, cool. Let it go. Like, because you could lose a chunk of money. If he comes on and scores 20, he loses us like 15K.
There's not really much risk. It's a bye week as well. You've got a warm body there. Use him. It just doesn't make sense to move him on. And if things come good and he ends up getting the role back somehow, and maybe Savala ends up being the one that drops out and Trent Robinson changed his mind, you've got a guy that's going to play the next two, or this major, the next two minis, and the next major. So schedule's fantastic for him too.
Also, he scored 76 last week, so that will be his rolling average next week. So I don't think the break even is going to be awful next week either. Like depending on what he scores this week, it could be 50, and then he has the hard buy in 17. Like you could just hold him for another 3 weeks, see if something pops up, and then move there.
Makes sense.
And I don't know about you guys, but I had always planned on getting Sandon Smith to a keeper, saving those trades at hooker. So the longer I can hold him to the end of Origin is the closer I get to either getting Connor Watson again or getting in a Harry Grant. And that's kind of where I sit with it. So
I'm on I don't know about you boys, but I'm on a big JMK watch this week.
Yeah, right.
505k. Fuck, that's cheap now for JMK. If he starts scoring well again, he's gonna be talked about in a couple of weeks, no doubt.
But obviously, the best KD in all sport.
The best KD, absolutely. Not Phoenix Suns fraud KD. This is Kurt Donahue from the Finns. Not a bad shout. We'll try and find some time to talk about him, considering he's the cover athlete for round 15. Matty,
I'd have to go back and look and see if we have the Madden curse.
Yeah, might be worth having a look. Matty, who are you holding this week?
It's Hamish Stewart. I know he's been named off the bench, and he has probably scored pretty ordinary off the bench in the past. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a late change. In the last 5 weeks, he scored 79, 48, 74, 51, and 43. That's floating between 43 and 60 minutes. He does have I think a 60 break even this week. I just don't expect him to drop in cash. Again, he's a warm body this week. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a late switch into him starting and DeBellin coming off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if DeBellin starts and Hamish Stewart still plays that, 43 to 55 minutes anyway, which we've seen him score quite well and go up in price at. I just think the fact that he's got a different number on his back after the team gets pumped by 50 isn't sending a message. It's not getting excited about anything. It's just naming someone to say something different this week, a bit of ducks and drakes. I can't see, in what I've seen him play, I can't see him losing that 43 to 55 minute role. And for me, that means he's a hold at 460k.
If anything, I kind of like his role off the bench if the minutes stay the same more than I do like him starting. If it was anybody but Jack DeBellin replacing him, I'd maybe think, oh shit, maybe there's a bit of a regression in his minutes coming. But Jack DeBellin's not a big minute guy anymore. He plays him for like 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes max, and also rotates. He's been playing prop the last couple of weeks as well. So I just feel like there's nothing's really going to change except the number on his back. So I agree with you on that. Let's move on to the sells for this week.
Just want to quickly touch on Hamish Stewart. So just had a quick look. Clemmer's playing 45 a game, Gore's playing 39, and DeBellin's playing 48. Like, it's not Terrell May for Norbole type territory we're looking at here. And as you said, coming off the bench, if Clemmer and Goole are going to take the impact out, and you're going to have like Loco and Harmsele come. Like, Harmsele is not match fit. I don't think we're looking at him for big minutes either. So, yeah. I'm not overly concerned either. Just wanted to quickly add the minute watch in there for those 3 middles.
Yeah, good shout. I'm moving on Nathan Cleary. If I had him this week, he is my sell. 1 game in the next 4, misses this week with Origin, misses 18 with Origin, will not travel to New Zealand after the Perth game. For Origin as well for round 16, so already confirmed not to back up there. So the only game that he will be playing will be against the Bulldogs, one of the best defensive teams in the competition. So for me, happy fade. If you held him through now, you got 147 points in 4 weeks. Doesn't really feel like it was worth a hold. I feel like anyone who sold probably got a little bit of a leg up there, but it's not too late. You can sell now. You can use that cash, and you can get a DCE. You can free up 250k. Getting DCE and use that cash elsewhere if you don't have any other downgrade options and you don't want to go to Lawson. So for me, pretty easy sell for me. The last thing I want is a 750k player playing 1 game in the next month for me sitting on my bench at this time of the year. So buy him back in round 19 against Para into Souths, Tigers, Titans, Knights, and enjoy yourself. Josh, who are you selling?
Greatest lock of all time, Teno Fa'asua Malawi. I think we can have the conversation of selling Teno. If rumors are to believe that he's carrying a sternum issue, obviously we'll miss this week. Then what happens if this is re-aggravated? May miss 16, maybe plays reduced minutes. Then plays a standalone in 17. Then has a bye in 18, and then plays the Broncos where they just got absolutely trounced and he scored 40 odd. He's a guy that I'm okay with selling. Moving him to Toby Loungeman, that could be an option. I know it doesn't fix your issues for the buys in like 18, but if he was a dead number anyway, and he's not going to be providing you scores this week or next, then Toby could be an option, but probably be a bit of a controversial back-to-back entry of Cleary into Tino. Like, what are you thinking on Tino? I don't think we had this conversation if these sternum issues aren't prevalent, but origin and injuries, they are a concern.
Matty, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I can get around it. He didn't look himself last week. Titans look awful. They're not going to be playing finals footy this year. If he is injured, like, they can't just keep risking him out there. Like, he's gonna give Origin a red hot go because he's just that good. And he will get out there. But yeah, I mean, even if he is coming back from this injury, we start to see, like Josh said, reduced minutes. And I think 700K for Tino is a much better trade out than, Payne Haas or somebody like that. There's so many good options out there. Yeah, maybe you do just through this period use the money elsewhere. And yeah, just Tino's not killing you. Like, he's been unreal this year, but I don't see a Tino 78 and think, oh, I'm going to lose this week, like you do when you see, Drinkwater score 140.
Also, 127 break even. In the rolling average, there'll be a 51 and a 57. And if he plays next week and scores fuck all again, it'll be north of 150. There is a world where you can pick him back up in 21, 22 for like 580, which is like crazy. That's like one more spike score of like Hamish Stewart or Sandon Smith if you've got some weird jewels. Like, there is a world where, you sell him and pick him up later on. Purely down to this sternum injury, and the Titans are not very good, and he is literally all they have. And big name recruit Regan Campbell-Gillard, who I probably am still yet to see do anything in 15 weeks.
Matty, who are you moving?
Grade, but yeah, just
who are you moving on, Matty, this week? Your boy, who you've been bragging about holding forever. You're moving on.
Yeah, it's time to move on. Isaiah Yongi, he's done an unreal job. Had some really good averages this year of 58. Comes into a bye, and I know the Gold Coast and St. George look really appealing, but when he's at 560K with a 91 break even, I think with a 40 and a 50 in his rolling average, there's so many fullbacks now, like, Turbo at 500K against a I don't even need to rag him out, against the Gold Coast Titans. You're starting to see Reece Walsh there, whether he play this week or whether, you get him. Like, obviously, he doesn't play this week, but he played really well for 7 minutes last week as well. So that was 600K there. Like, there's Latrell after Origin. You can get him in for a bargain basement price there. I just think there's no real reason to hold him now that we're getting towards, after this week. It's the end of Origin. They've got to buy this week. Just bite the bullet. If the guy you want is Turbo, do it this week. If the guy you want is, one of those other blokes playing Origin like Trell or Reece Walsh next week, or, you see Ponga play really good on the weekend and you think he's going to be revitalized. There's so many mid-priced options at fullback that I didn't see coming at the start of the year. So he's done his job. I probably held him not too long, but to the right amount. I just think he's good to go now.
Yeah, I agree with that. Josh, you put a post up on Twitter about some nice little pod plays in each position. Want to talk through them?
Yeah, we can definitely chat through them. These are probably more short term, like they're not super long-sighted, but they're bodies and they fill numbers. So, of course, it's cover star himself at hooker. It's Mr. K Donahue, 1.3% owned. Look, this is right in the Morgan Smithies, Brendan Piacora, Chris Randall wheelhouse, and he was a man that was brought up to my attention by you, Braino. So, look, talk to me on Donahue and sell me on him and sell the viewers on the 400K Stallion.
I just think that if you're worried about Sandon Smith next week, things don't work out this week or whatever, I feel like Donahue at his price, only 404K, he's got 11 break even this week, so he might make a little bit of money, but with no Plath and no Gilbert, Raystone's been named on the bench, Donohue's been named in the 13. And if we can get 50 minutes or 60 minutes in the middle from Donohue, even if Donohue goes from 13 to 9 to sub Jeremy Marshall-King, there's a pathway there for 60 plus minutes in this team. And we look at the last 3 games that he's played. Sorry, I'll say 4. I'll include the shit game. 31 in 62 minutes with a 33 at base. But then after that, he's gone 56, 71 and 53 in 72, 69 and 70 minutes. So we see there he's got the base. He's got the BP. Like, that role seems like a very Max Plathy type role too, doesn't it? It's one of those roles where it's like, he could easily fill in at hooker. He can fill in pretty much in a multitude of positions. So I feel like maybe they might be using him as that little Max Plath Swiss Army knife type option for the rest of the year. And job security looks pretty solid.
Are you concerned Max Plath has a nose and Kurt Donohue doesn't?
No.
Is that an uptick?
He's
played through the broken, ruled out, and then came back same game. Matty, Toby Catchman, 4.2% owned by the overall player base. Does have the bye next week, but he looks like the guy. We talked about him as a 10 replacement. We talked about him as pretty much any replacement. Braino was keen on him last week, delivered in spades yet again. Still think there's merit to be jumping on Toby Catchman this week.
Yeah, and like last week's score was great for those that hopped on, like Braino, but he did still lose 20K. So I feel like non-owners also got a win. 44 break even. He scores above that every single week. I think he averages, 55 for the season, priced at a 53. Oh, there you go. Yeah, just got that dog in him. So I think that you can just add him and he can be your front row forward 3 beside your Haas and your May. And I genuinely think there is a chance Toby Catchman outscores Tino for the rest of the year. And that's not, that's just through maybe availability being the best ability, St. George not being very exciting. So they're just playing through the middle a bit. He's just going to get those balls from, Flano and run.
And the gang. I really like him playing 80. I think obviously the average is quite distorted with that 26 in 24 minutes. Matty, while we're on the topic, we'll move to 2RF. Jacob Preston is currently only owned by 4.8% of the player base. Is going to be low because of being out for a multitude of weeks, but you were very keen on him. Do you have anything further to add, or is he's a guy that could be, or not could be, if he's shown us glimpses of being a season keeper at 2RF?
Yeah, I'm going to bring him in. And it's not a short-term play. It's a guy that I can see myself holding right to the end. You start to look at point of differences and I've made some good money to be able to afford Jacob Preston in a lot of other positions. I think if you can go down to like a Hiroti or someone, which allows you to get one of those mid-price guys to Preston, you should. That comparison with Hamoli and Preston, it goes down to not many people owning Preston and lots of people owning Hamoli. And we know Hamoli does have quite a low floor. So, look, I think the doggies are going to be hard to stop all year. And, wheels up, Jacob Preston.
You're worried about the left side dominance, though? We had this issue at the start of the year. I don't think that's changed, really. Kickouts getting fed on that left edge.
He burned us all. He went back to the right.
And then he went to the left. And then he
went to the left, went back to the right, did some good things. I think if we're talking about anti-potting players, Hamole's right in that wheelhouse because, yes, look, it's going to go terrible when it goes well. But when it doesn't go well for Hamole and that floor is hit, then, a guy like Preston, who is as safe as houses, is a guy that definitely could shoot you up ranks. Mate, halfback. It was slim pickings, but it was my buy of the week, Daly Cherry Evans. I don't want to put my bias spin on it, but you can see the appeal at 5% owned.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. If I needed a replacement for Cleary, he's it. I know Isaiah Katoa is there as well. We talked a little bit about him last night. We won't drag the show out by doubling up on everything we spoke about. If you want to check it out, go watch the Q&A. But DCE is the one that it's just the price point. If I'm buying DCE as a replacement at 610, not keen. But you're getting him at 480K. That's just a crazy price for a guy that can go and average 80 over the next month.
I think think I said last week, he was the halfback one for the first month of the season. So definitely has that there. Mate, if we played Supercoach with bias, we'd be going worse than what we already are. So we can leave our bias at the door and we look at Mr. L. Galvin, number 6 for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, 3.4% owned. This screams of a 1 week play because of the uncertainty on his job security. But I saw enough for him to, obviously no Matt Burton, but I saw enough from Lucky Galvin running the ball well, straightening up the attack at 3.4% owned. If you're looking for that 1 week play, and your eyes would light up if he's named next week as well. But I think it's a really, really good play if you're looking for that warm body this week.
Matty, do you feel like him starting off the bench is only a short-term thing, and when we're soon going to see what we've heard rumours about being, either Galvin at 7 or Burton at 7, Galvin at 6? Like, I think he's probably a fortnight away from starting at the most. Apparently, he's really impressed at training. The reason Sir Aldo didn't want to play him or start him anyway, or even wanted to start him in reserve grade, was because he wasn't confident that Galvin could keep up with the defensive systems of the team. And through training, he got better and better every single week to a point where they're like, nah, fuck it, we're going to play this kid. So he's catching on quick to their system. Sir Aldo loves him. The team loves him, apparently. You reckon there's a chance he can start in the next fortnight?
Yeah, I do. I really think that he will be there in a fortnight. And I was sitting there at work, chatting to a customer, talking footy. One of my favorite things. Selling a car for those that don't know what I'm doing. And he was a dog supporter, and I said to him, mate, you're not winning a premier. Like, nobody's ever won a premiership with Toby Sexton at halfback. And he's looked me in the eye and he says, 2006 Broncos halfback Shane Perry is, and I was like, man, you've got me. So maybe they can win a premiership with Sexton, but I do think that their team elevates with a Galvin that understands the systems and just a lot better younger player than Toby Sexton. So I do think if they're going to elevate to the next level, it will be with Galvin there, and we might just be gifted like 450k Galvin in a couple of weeks' time as well, which is unreal.
I can really see the resemblance, like number 6, Darren Lockyer, Matt Burton, pretty much like for like. Shane
the same boot.
I'm looking at like Harry Hayes and Daniel Sluka for feeder, like, it's just the same people. But no, look, he is ridiculously cheap. He's 490k with an 80 break even. So if it wasn't a this week play, look, if he scores 80, then you know that the role's there if he's named next week. So definitely could be wheels up to old Lockie G.
I just had to bring that one up. Yeah.
There is a lot of random NRL players, which is a great way for me to segue my new Twitter page. I'm not going to do it. But the center wings and fullbacks. Look, Maureen Hall-Roddy, we've spoken about him at length. Probably don't need to touch on him. But the last one, boys, I'm going to say it loud, say it proud. I'm not going to hide behind the failures of multiple years. It's Tom Trbojevic. And, the floor is mine, guys. Tom Trbojevic, 7.8% owned against the Gold Coast Titans. For 15 weeks, SC Brain has told me repeatedly every week at 4:05 on a Tuesday, he opens the NRL app and looks at the Gold Coast Titans and who they're playing. And it's Tom Trbojevic. He's recovered from all these injuries. He was down and out, and Manly gave him a rest. Now he's back. Manly have never lied to us about Turbo. So I am all aboard the Turbo train, and I really hope these two come back into the show eventually because I can't keep hosting. But, boys, if I told you could get a man who has averaged 140 for a season at 500k against the Gold Coast Titans of all teams, how can you not do it?
He was in my hold column last week. I called him a hold last week. So
I just want to reiterate the CJ Johnson. Oh shit! Here we go again, man. And every time, I'm never ever gonna be wrong on Turbo, because to be wrong is to admit your defeat. Mm-hmm. And I will never admit defeat on Turbo. I may have sold him. I may have been a coward and backed out, but
have you sold him?
Yeah, I done it.
Yeah, he went to Walsh.
Oh, yes. So I have him still. So
me too.
I tell you what, he is getting a fucking armband for me, which is an excellent segue probably into captains.
Yes,
It's early
before
enough
we-
in the week that I can vice captain him.
Before we do captains, shout out to Game Day Squad, sponsor of the show. They are launching a contender competition to get more people involved and get them involved at a point where you don't have to take on the sweats. We'll talk about that soon, but if you haven't yet, Game Day Squad, and you don't know about Game Day Squad is a perfect crossover between card collecting and fantasy sports. You can play and win for free. You can collect, trade, buy, and sell player cards, build yourself a squad, take on your mates, up to 100K in prizes every single season as well. So you can sign up to Game Day Squad, use our code IFSAUS, get yourself some free packs. We're also going to be doing some guessing competitions on who's going to top score in each game this weekend. There is 5 games. I've got 15 packs to give away, 3 to each person who gets closest to the top scorer this weekend. So keep an eye out for that on our socials for all the details there on Instagram and X or Twitter. But this contender competition, Matty, they've obviously brought this in because they wanted an easier entry point into someone who doesn't really know about Game Day Squad and how it all works, but doesn't want to take on all of the top teams with all the great cards. I've seen Josh's fucking team and the amount of cards that he has, all the Diamond, Nathan Cleary's fucking floating around in there. I'm not taking him on. So contender's perfect because you actually can't compete in the contender competition if you're in Challenger or Champion, which are the 2 levels above. So it kind of evens up the playing field a little bit, but a very short salary cap, Matty, which makes it pretty tough because you can only then go with bronze, silver, or gold cards, right?
Yeah, and it's an entry point. I think if you're playing in some of the other leagues, you can't play in it. And I know, like, it can be daunting to have a look at these God squads and just think that you can't compete, but that is why this is so good. You can just open the app, pick your best players, and get involved. You won't have to play against my Platinum Bryce Cotton. So that's really good. Of course, they do have it in other sports as well. But yeah, that's probably how I feel when I first opened it, and I came across these guys. You know, not as partners, just somebody that had met them at the NBL Blitz, and they were telling me about their product. And yeah, I opened it up for the first time, and I did find it a bit daunting. So yeah, get involved. Doesn't cost you anything, and it is the only SuperCoach sport that you can play Origin. So I'm pretty keen on that.
Yeah, for sure. State of Origin comp. It's coming up. So, yeah, get involved and take us on there. Let's have a chat about captains. It is wide open for captains this week. It's going to be tough to pick one, so let's chat.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Now, Nico against the Dragons is a story. It's a story. And Josh doesn't like Nico anymore. Even though Josh was the only person to start with him and shits on him at every opportunity. So
Josh also captained in this game round 4 2 years ago for 180. Like,
yeah, yep. And the 2 scores he scored after that against the Dragons have been 156 and 97. So, you know, he likes playing the Dragons, but is it the same Nico? That's the question that we have. Is it a Thursday night waste of a VC and a poo slinger? Or do we see the Sharks actually turning up and playing better than they did last week? Because I captained Nico last week. So I've got very, very new scars there on Nico Hines. How do you feel about it as an owner, Josh? Is it something you're looking at?
he's highlighted blue on in my team right now, but I don't love it. Yeah, look, it's the track record, isn't it? Like he grows another leg against the Dragons, and it could be a pretty painless watch this week. Obviously, there's things to fall back on. There's Colin Matungi to fall back on if it all goes wrong this week, but it could be a really, really seamless watch. You know, it could be 110, take the loop on a Thursday. Thanks for coming. The track record's there. That's, you know, this Dragon side is inconsistent to say the least. So it's hard not to look at him. Yeah,
I mean, weather's also a factor, I guess. I haven't actually even checked the weather, but it says 1 to 10 mil Friday, 0 to 4 mil tomorrow. So
wet
maybe a little
Nico.
bit of wet hair Nico floating about. I mean, I might just have to do it. If there's wet hair Nico happening, I might just do it. JC versus...
How'd the Dragons go last week, Josh? For those looking at Nico?
Yeah. It's yeah.
Did you see the Dragons last week?
I'm not basically.
I can't wait for it. We saw how that worked for the Warriors earlier in the year.
I played him into form, all the brews, and you're in, and you're ragging me out. But I'm the reason the Waz are where they're at. So.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
And Luke
and
Metcalf.
Aaron Clark. Aaron Clark
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, yeah. Huge fan.
Uh,
Rocco Berry.
Jaden Campbell against Manly. Manly are certainly no world beater at the moment. You know, they're not playing their best footy, and Jaden Campbell's the one that's going to have his hands all over the rock. I feel like he's not a bad shout. Probably not one I'm going to go with personally. There's better options for me, but I feel like if you're missing a couple of these next ones, JC as a VC could be quite nice. He's not quite the JC that Matty loves in Metcalf, but he's the second best JC in the NRL.
Yeah. I've had this guy for a long time too, but I just find it super hard to captain someone that I saw get 27 last week, which is, I suppose, why you didn't vice captain Jerome Hughes last week, Braino, despite all the stats that you dug up pointing to him being the best option. So, yeah, like if you believe that, you know, that was a bit of a turning point in Manly's downfall last week. I saw the Titans hopefully play the Broncos into form last week. With Manly losing to the Knights, I think that probably the other way. The Titans could play Manly into form, which is why I'd rather look at a Garrick or a Turbo, to be honest.
Let's have a chat about them, Josh. Garrick against the Titans. So the Titans concede the most points in the comp to right centres this year. So could be not a bad shout for Garrick this week, as well as your boy with the blue armband. Got any stats to back it up, or is it all vibes?
The Titans are not very good. I had the points per conceded. I had the points per draw conceded. Where are they? GCT. Ranked 7th for fullbacks, ranked 1st for centers. Like they just leak points. Like rank 4th to 5/8, and we know that Turbo plays more of a half role in attack. So like, they're just not very good at football, and they have no Tino, which makes them even worse at football. Like, what are we doing? Like, the Titans have to be, and this is Rich coming from a Tigers fan, but one of the worst expansion teams in all of sport.
I don't feel like we're qualified to talk about this as Tigers supporters.
I mean, we won a comp before the Dogs, so you know I'll hold that on my chest. But like, really, like, I don't understand. Vibes are high on the Gold Coast, and they can't get like a good team.
It's probably because vibes are too high. Like you've been to the Gold Coast, right?
Yeah. To be fair, you book a 7-day trip to the Gold Coast, and after like day 4, you're like,
I'm done.
Okay, when can I go home?
Destination, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I
Uh,
like Garrick and Turbo.
Vibes are high, and
It seems a bit rich when you've got like the Gold Coast Crushers who lasted 5 years.
Shout out
I
to
know
the
they're a bit-
Crushers.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like the worst expansion place is probably Gold Coast ever. Like everybody just goes there and I don't know, gets on the piss for their whole contract and, you know, refuses to play for them so that they can play for the Ipswich Jets. But
if
maybe
you want
that's
to, if you want like a good
short-sighted.
narrative, if you just filter scores, right? If you filter Tom Trbojevic in games where he played the Titans in 2021, he averages 208. So,
Hey, I mean, you're one of the best at finding a narrative. That's one of them.
I'm sorry. Every time I look at these like numbers, these are ridiculous. Like 229, 170, 179, 87, 226, 95, 144, 208. That was just Turbo in 21. Like you forget just how ridiculous it was.
It's a free. Yeah. That was when he actually had limbs. Now, sadly, there are no limbs. So
He had 4 scores under 100 in 15 games.
Oh, that's outrageous. Let's move on. Teddy versus the Knights. I mean, I think most are buying Teddy this week. If you don't have Teddy, I think this week's the week to get him, right? The Knights, though, aren't that bad defensively. They just can't score points either. So it's kind of like, are the Knights like a trap game every single week where we look at the Knights and go, yeah, they're going to roll over them because the Knights suck. But realistically, they're not actually terrible defensively. They just can't score points.
Yeah, I'm sort of that opinion too. I've been death riding Teddy all year, so what's one more week? But I think if I had Teddy, he would have some sort of armband though. He just has found a way all year to average that 90 or whatever he has averaged. So I think the Knights haven't been that bad, so I wouldn't bring him in just for this reason. I'd bring him in because you want to keep him for the rest of the season. But if you do bring him in, yeah, you'll find a way to get an armband on Tedesco because he just finds a way this year and last.
I think he's like a if it all goes wrong type. It depends. Like you never want to let your rank dictate the moves you make. But if you're ranked quite high and you've got a good amount of numbers, you could just VC Teddy into CK on. Like they're both probably the safest options this week. But I'm just concerned with the ceiling. Like obviously the 130 against the Dolphins, the 128 against the Dragons, they're the two biggest scores. We've seen guys like Nico. I know I wasn't saying Nico, but get like 180 against the Dragons, 150 against the Dragons. Turbo, you can laugh, but if it comes off, it comes off. Like, what's the best case for Teddy? Like a 140, which is still great. But as you said, I think the Knights at McDonald Jones are a decently enough defensive team.
Yeah, agreed. Captaincy just feels. I don't think I'm ever going to stop looking for big upside captains. But I hate playing SuperCoach picking props as captains. If I wanted to do that, I'd play fantasy because that's pretty much what you do in fantasy. Realistically, you just pick a halfback that kicks 1,000 meters a game, or you just pick a prop. And I play SuperCoach because I love picking upside players. That's the whole fun of playing SuperCoach. Keon, hey,
Alex Johnson, captain.
Khan Pereira this week. Drinky versus the Dolphins, boys. Pretty. I'd call it a no-brainer, really. Like, fuck, he's been good. He just scores points for fun. I reckon, honestly, we look at these games, right? This Dolphins-Cowboys game could be fucking 66-60. Legit, no joke. Like, this could be an absolute bloodbath.
It could also be like 6-4. I don't think it's gonna be in between.
Yeah,
it'll be like if I don't know what the points line is, but like if it's like a 44-point game, it'll go like 70, or it'll be like a 10-point game.
It'll be a fucking soccer score. Yep.
You should bet under 19.5 and over 55. For those over the cap listeners.
No Dearden, or is the Jake Clifford narrative too strong?
Clifford narrative's too strong. But also, no Dearden means that he is going to... So Scott Drinkwater will play halfback, he will play 5'8", and he will play fullback. Like, he will play as a first or second receiver off the ruck in the attacking 20 as that 5'8", I reckon, in attack. And obviously, you know, I just feel like he's going to have way more touches this week than any other game. So I like it. I'm just trying to find the points line. It is at 49.5. So... That's actually not too bad. I'd take overs.
Any love for Herbie?
Yeah. I mean,
yep.
When's he going to stop scoring tries? As soon as you put the captaincy on him. That is the answer.
I really hope it never does because I love using the Jesse Pinkman. He can't get away with this meme every week. Classic content.
Yes.
And whenever I post it, I always get people to be like, "Why haven't you bought him?" Despite having owned him since like round 5.
Yeah. I think people think that like all of your content is catered towards just your team.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's one thing I've learned. Like if you want to have a successful SuperCoach page, Cleary good, Haas good, Walsh bad, rinse and repeat, and it's a recipe for success.
But don't ever post Brendan Piakura content because that will get you sacked.
You cop so much hate on that.
What was it? Calling Pete Mamezelis Aldi
Timu.
That was back like round 4, man. He got cancelled.
Timu Damien Cook. Yeah. Oh man, that fucking came back to bite you big time, didn't it? That was fun. So we talked about Asako at the start. Asako captain is genuinely tempting for me if I just feel a little bit silly and have too many beers over the weekend. That could be a play. Because
sounds like a trip to the Lemire RSL.
Yeah. West Leagues Club, straight to the bistro section to yell at the TV. That's what that'll be. But and then Keon versus the Bulldogs is pretty much the prop that stands out. Normally it's Terrell May, it's Payne Haas, it's Keon this week. 300s in a row. Can he make it 4? Honestly, maybe. The Bulldogs are conceding a fair amount of points to middles. Like that, they don't really have that side. Daniel Saluka Fafita is going to be good for about 12 minutes. And no Max King. Josh Curran. Is Josh Curran playing at prop this week? I think he is. He got named in the prop rotation. So,
Is Kurt Mann in Origin?
Kurt Mann's in Origin.
It shows you how
Curtis Morin is playing this week.
Oh, nice.
Titans recruit, isn't he?
Yeah.
The guy that lost his spot thanks to Galvin.
Don't laugh.
One of many.
February next year, we'll be like, boys, Curtis
I'll
Morris
be there.
230.
Always been a huge Curtis Morin fan.
yeah, of course.
But lots of captaincy options. It's wide open. It could dictate the week, really. Obviously, it's best of 13 this week as well, guys. So, keep that in mind with your trades. Keep in mind round 16. We've talked about that a lot tonight. Hopefully, we've been able to help somewhat. But it's going to be a pretty interesting week ahead. So hopefully we can see some green arrows at the end of the tunnel coming into round 16. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for getting involved. We will be back for the Sunday wrap up. So keep an eye out on that. We'll be either laughing or crying, I would assume. I reckon there'll be a little bit of both. Who's going to get the crown?
I have a free hit at Turbo. If he does really well, I told you all.
Mm-hmm.
And if he shits the bed, well, I'm the only one that doesn't own him out of the three of us. So it's like,
it's true. So
it's good. It's just a win-win.
It's a win-win, but it's also a loss win when Turbo gets 165. And you can say you said it, but then you'd be a fraud because you sold
a bunch of content. Like I got a bunch of really petty posts about how, like I said, he's better than Teddy as a buy that I can just reshare.
Yeah, good. It's amazing what happens when you throw enough shit at the wall.
He's just retweeting himself from 2021.
Oh dear. We had fun. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hit the subscribe and the like. Would really appreciate it to grow the show and get the episode out there. So smash that like button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Sunday for the wrap up. Good luck this week. Catch you then.
Cheerio.